Instruction skill 13 is talking about calculating a percent change. If you want to go into the nursing program, this is one of the things you will need to know how to do. And I'm going to look at the question first, I think. This is a calculator question. The sale price of a sweater is $28. The original price was $40. What percent discount is being offered on the sweater? And the answer is 30%. So let me show you how I would do this problem, and then we'll look at their explanation. So I'm going to give you the basic formula for percent change. The first step is to find the difference. Now, you might be thinking the difference of what? And that can vary depending on the problem. So for just now, let's put find the difference. Step 2 is to set up a proportion. Let's do it this way, where you have percent over 100 equals the difference over the original. So we're going to be using this process to solve these problems. And let me put that in a highlighted box because this is important. You really need to memorize that to be able to do these problems. The good news is if you memorize that, you can do any of these problems. So let me show you how I would apply that to this particular problem. The difference is going to be the $40 minus the 28. So if you buy this sweater on sale, you are saving $12. That's the difference I'm talking about. Then you set up a proportion where you have the percent, which we're looking for, over 100 equals the difference, that was our 12, over the original. What was the original price of the sweater? It was $40. And then you multiply the peanut, so 12 times 100 is 1,200. And then you divide that by 40 to get 30. So the percent of savings was 30%. I know this may seem confusing right now. This is not the easiest thing to do. But once you learn the process, you can do these all day long and they will work the same way. You must know this proportion. That's the key. And once you get your difference, it will always go in that seat of the proportion. So let's look at their explanation. There are two ways to measure change between two values. You can find the numerical difference in the two values by subtracting the sale price from the original price. And that's what I did up there. I found that $12 was saved. The percent change is the ratio of the difference in the two values in the original value written as a percent. Divide difference in price by original price, and that will give you the percent change. Now, to me, this red method is much easier to remember than what they've described here, but you absolutely can do it either way. You can memorize it either way. So step 1 was to find the difference in price, which we did. We subtracted to get 12. They did theirs a little bit differently. They reduced the fraction down to 3/10 and then turned it into a percentage. That method works just fine if that makes sense to you. Let's look at these two ways to measure change. You can express the change as money. For example, $40 was the original cost. The sale price was $28 and your discount was $12. That's one way to express that change. The other way is to talk about it as a percent. The $40 was the 100%. You're paying 70% of that original cost, so you're saving 30%. And they gridded the answer 30 in the grid. So let's practice these. I'm going to use my method, but feel free to use yours if you prefer that other way. That is perfectly fine. But I'm used to this one. It works perfectly well every time. So I'm going to use that in on the next page. All right. Concepts. Problems 1 through 3 are based on the following table. So let me get to know this table. It does not have a title, so it does not tell me the main idea. I'm going to have to figure that out. So I have 5 different items of clothing on sale. I have shirts, sweaters, jackets, shoes, and gloves. The original prices are given, as are the sale prices. Here's the question. Which expression shows how to determine the percent discount being offered on shirts? So if I look up here at shirts and I remember my process here, the first thing I'm supposed to do is find the difference. Well, they give me the difference in price. I know that originally the shirts were $20. On sale, they are $15. So that is a difference of $5. That's the difference. And we know in our proportion that seat for difference is always right here. It's $5. And since there's no change, no cents, I'm just going to use the 5. But you could use 5.00 if you like that. I know that 100 is always down here because the top of that is my percentage. And I know that on the bottom of that 5, I need the original cost of the shirt, and that was 20. Okay. So 5 over 20 is what I'm working with in comparison to that 100. Now, let me think about how best to explain which answer choice I'm looking for. And I need to take a second and figure out which one it actually is. Okay, I see it. Let's focus right here. How did we get that 5? What did we do to get that 5? We said 20 minus 15, and then we're going to divide that by 20. So which one of these answer choices says the same? Which one of these puts $20 on the bottom of a fraction? It is number 5. We said 20 minus 15, that's 5, over 20 times the 100%. So your choice there would be number 5. You do not have to solve it. You just have to set it up. All right, here is an application question, and it is calculator. What % discount is being offered on sweaters? Well, again, this is my method. You can use any method you want that does the same thing. But for me, the first step is to find the difference on sweaters. So I look up here, it's $36 and $31.50. So $36 is the original. $31.50 is the sale price. And since I'm supposed to use a calculator, I'm going to, just so that I am seeing what you're seeing. But if you can subtract that in your head, that is fine. You will get 4.5. That's $4.50 difference. And then I will take that difference and automatically put it in its correct seat. I know that 100 goes here and that this is going to be a percentage. This is the difference. This is the original, which was $36. I think this time I'm going to go ahead and put the zeros, but you don't have to. So I will be multiplying the peanut. That's just what I call it because it looks like a peanut to me. So 100 times $4.50 equals $4.50. And $4.50 divided by 36, or 36.00, you can do it either way. $4.50 divided by 36 is 12.5%. So I like number 4. Be very careful that you do not choose number 3. The decimal has to be in the right spot. But you are saving 12.5% on a sweater. For which listed item is the greatest % discount being offered? And this is a calculator question. So let's start with shirts. We already found that, well, we didn't really work it. So let me just do them all. It's good practice. For shirts, we have 20 and 15. So 20 minus 15 is $5. And we set up our proportion of percent of 5 over the original, and then we do the math. So we get 500 divided by 20, and that will give us our percentage of 25%. So that's shirts. I don't like that one. Let's just write the word shirt. Okay, now let's do the sweaters. And I think I'll put some lines here. All right, sweaters, we have 36 and 31.50. We just found that one right here. So the sweaters, let me just go right up here, the 12.5%. So we know that one's not it because 25% is bigger than 12.5%. All right, let's look at jackets. So we have $60 and $49. So 60 minus 49. You may use your calculator if you want to. That is a difference of 11. So let's set up the proportion. Put the 11 here. the 100 here, and the original for jackets was 60. So we have 100 times 11. That's 1100 divided by 60. That is about 0.054, so about 5.4%. That one was not a very big savings. Shirts so far is the biggest savings. But let's look at what comes next. Shoes. So we have 50 and 35 for shoes. That's a difference of $15. And so we put our proportion together with the difference over the original and our 100 here because we're looking for a percentage. So 100 times 15 is 1500, and 1500 divided by 50, I'm liking that one. That's a 30% savings. And then finally, we want to look at gloves. Difference of 24 to 12. You might be able to look at this one and tell what it is. But let's work it. It's going to be 12. And if you set up your proportion, you've got a difference of 12 out of 24. 12 is half of 24. So 100 times 12 is going to be 1200. And 1200 divided by 24 is a pretty good savings. If you recognize that 12 is half of 24, that's 50%. So gloves is your biggest. I've forgotten. Are we looking for the biggest or the least? Let me go back and. The red was what? Sweaters. No, jacket. And we are looking for the greatest percent discount. So that would be that 50% for gloves. All right. Number 4. Tino's Pizza recently raised the price of the large combination pizza from $14 to $15.50. To the nearest percent, by what percent has the price increased? Well, the first thing I want to do is find the difference in terms of money. And that's going to be, you can use your calculator if you want to, $1.50 increase. And so we know that there's a seat reserved for that right there. The 100 is always down here. And the original was $14. So I'm going to multiply 100 times 150. If you can do it in your head, that's fine. And you are going to divide that by the 14, or by 14.00. So I get 10.71 and some other stuff. That is about 11% if you round it. So that would be the first choice. Number 5. Mariano sees ads for a camera he wants to buy. A summary of the ads is shown in the following table. So we have 4 different stores with original prices and discounts. Which of the following statements is or are true about the sale price of the camera at the 4 stores? So I'm going to have to find the sale prices before I can answer those questions. And I am out of room, so let me do this. I'm going to take a snapshot of this and hopefully find some paper. Let me see if I can add a blank piece of paper. Was that a calculator question? I hope so, but if not, it's okay. So let me paste this in and let me go back and look to see. It is a calculator question. That's great. All right, so on Great Photo, we are going to find the sale price. I'm going to add another column out here for sale price, and we'll calculate that for each of these stores. So Great Photo has $599.99 at 15% off. So I'm going to, let me not change the way I've been showing you. Bear with me. I was about to do a shortcut, but I think I better not do that. Let's use our proportion the same way we've been doing it. All right, we know that 100% of the cost of the camera is the original price, but you save 15%. So that means that you are paying, let me set this up. This is original. This is your discount, which means this is the amount that you will pay. And this is 85% of the price. Okay, so let's do a proportion. You have to pay 85%. 100 is always in the bottom, and original is always in the bottom. I would really like to round that to $600, but since I can use my calculator, I will use it. So here's the peanut. $599.99 times 85. It's ugly. We're going to divide it by 100. I don't see why we couldn't have rounded it. So remember, I'm looking for the price that I have to pay. So I'm going to call this about, if you round that, it is about 509. Let me just put it up here. 509.99. That's a Great Photo. So let's do the same for Photo Snap. 100%, we get a 20% discount. So that means we would pay 80% of the original price. So set up a proportion. We know 100 is built in. We're saving 80% or paying 80%. And the original is $479.99. or almost $480. So let's draw the peanut and multiply what's in there. Be careful. Type it carefully. It's not an easy number to work with. And that gives me 38399.2. But we have to divide that by 100 on the calculator. And that gives me 383.992, or $383.99. Okay, let's do shutter time. We have 100% minus the discount. So we would be paying 75% at shutter time. 75% of the original $419. So this time the peanut will be 75 times 419. And that's 31425 divided by 100 is going to be 314.25 is our sale price. And then finally we have Dave's camera, where we only save 10%, but the original price was much lower. So we're paying 90%, but the original was only $347. So let's multiply those two. Don't forget to clear your calculator between camera stores. You divide that by 100 and you get $312.30. So I have calculated the sale prices for each of those stores. And I'm going to make a copy of this so that I can bring it back over. Ooh, don't want to do that. Let me just, that is linked together somehow. So I guess I'll make a copy of the whole thing. That's not really what I wanted to do, but it's okay. Actually, it's not okay. Let me paste it right here. Bear with me just a second. I want to crop this. Or actually, let me just write these in and then I'll delete that. So we have 509.99, 383.99, 314.25, and 312.30. So I've just added those sale prices in. And I'll get rid. Now it's letting me do that. Can you believe that? After all that, and now it wants to do it. So let's bring this up here because it's a little bit easier to read. It's different colors. Oh, now it's taking that. Technology is wonderful until it isn't. Okay. I think we can work with this. Which of the following statements is or are true about the sale price of the camera at the 4 stores? The greatest percent discount occurs for the camera with the greatest price reduction. I don't understand that. The greatest percent discount occurs for the camera with the greatest price reduction. Let me keep reading. That bothers me. The greatest percent discount results in the lowest camera price. Okay, that one is not true because the lowest camera price is $312, but that's the smallest percent of discount. So we can eliminate B. I don't know why A messes with my mind a little bit, but let's get that one out of there. The greatest dollar discount is given for the camera with the greatest cost. Well, the greatest cost is $5.99, but the greatest dollar discount, let's look back over here. We would have to actually find, that's where they have done, I see now, they have done, there's a different way. So I need to go ahead and find my dollar discount as well. I'm sorry, I should have done these before I tried to show them to you. But we have what we need here. It's okay. Let's take our calculator and we're going to subtract this number from this one. So $5.99.99 minus $509.99 is a dollar discount of $90. So if you choose to go to Great Photo, you will save $90. If you go to PhotoSnap, you have $479.99 minus $383.99. So you save $96. If you go to Shutter Time, you've got $419 minus $314.25. You save $104.75. And at Dave's Camera, you have $347 minus $312. That is only a savings of $35, but that's still the cheapest camera because you only pay $312. All right, so let me go back to my choices again. We have eliminated B, so let's look at C. The greatest dollar discount is given for the camera with the greatest cost. The greatest dollar discount would be this one. That is not the camera with the greatest cost, so that statement is not true. Okay. So we can eliminate number 4 because we know that B and C are not true. Both A and C are true. That is not the case. Only C is true. That is not the case. So it's either only A is true or none of them is true. So let me get back up here and try to wrap my head around A. I'm not sure why that's giving me so much trouble. The greatest percent discount, which would be the 25. Oh, I see why it's giving me trouble. Because I didn't. Here's why. Let me go over here. bear with me a second. I'm going to turn to the page with that question so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. Here we go. The greatest percent discount, which is 25%, occurs for the camera with the greatest price reduction. That is true, because that 25% discount gives me this price reduction. That's why it was giving me trouble, because I wasn't seeing this data and I needed to. So A is true. Let's go back over here. We know that A is a true statement. So I can eliminate number 5 and choose number 1. If I got this question on a test, I would read it carefully. I would go with my gut instinct. I would go with my best guess, but I would not waste 10 minutes doing all of this. It's one thing if you're doing it in an exercise where you're building your skills. That is important, to take the time to do it. But on a test, do not spend 10 minutes on any one question. You don't have that much time. Just make your best guess and go on. It is okay.